Good morning to the men.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome, Robert. Good to have you. For people who don't know, Robert Hamilton Owens he's been a good friend of Argent Alpha now for, gosh, it's coming up 2+ years. I think, Robert, we met in 2023 or 2024. I don't remember.
Something like
But we had this live event in September of 2024, and we called it the Crucible, if I remember right. And I'm going to hand over to you here in a second, Robert. But Robert's worked with Mark Devine at SealFit for years, and I said, "Hey, Robert, we're not SealFit guys, but give us a just a taste, like a Costco sampler of what you guys do when you're doing those events." And so we did that, and it was a blast. We got some great photos and great videos of that. But today, I want to have Robert on today to talk about a few things. Talking about the importance of having a date on the calendar, talk about why he does some of the things he does, how that relates to relevance for men over 50, and then just open up for Q&A. So anyway, Robert, welcome. Glad to have you with us today.
good to be here. Good to see all you guys.
Well, let's kick it off. I mean, I think where I came up with this, we've been talking about this whole date on the calendar concept, then, and you messaged me about, hey, I'm doing this 100 miler in October. And you generously offered to train with anybody in Argent Alpha who wanted to come along for the ride or part of the ride. But talk a little bit about maybe your background on doing hard things and why dates are important on a calendar and why you shared that publicly, and just start rolling, and we'll just go from there.
Got it. I thought for sure Jay was going to sign up. I mean, I know Jay. I know he's up for it. He just hasn't committed yet. You know, a lot of us get our 10,000 hours. How do you be a concert violinist? 10,000 hours or whatever you do, uh, unexpectedly. And so, in my 20s, I trained for special ops and found that I got in and blah blah, and I found that I could do stuff that they said was hard. But it was because I had the right people around me also. And I remember I was running. I don't know. We're doing an 8 mile run or something like that. And one of the guys on my special ops team said, "Robert, you run stupid." What do you mean? I've been running this way all my life. And he said, "No, you don't run right. Your arms aren't right. Your hands aren't right. The way you do it is just wrong." And he was a runner, of course, cross country guy. I said, "Well, how do I run?" And he got alongside of me and said, "This is how you move your hands. This is what your wrists and your things." And I said, "Oh." And he said, "That's how you save energy. It's not going up and down. It's going forward. Every bit of energy going up and down is lost energy. Everything has to go forward." I went, "Oh, makes sense." And so I started running like that. My times got better. And it wasn't because I was a runner. It's because somebody came alongside and said, "Hey, this is how you do it better." Anyway, that principle of having the right people around you as you're just going through life, you stumble into things. And so from special ops, I was reading in college about this unbelievable thing that nobody does who's normal. It was called an Ironman. It was just in Sports Illustrated. I read that thing, in Sports Illustrated about this thing, run, bike, swim, and or swim, bike, run. And I said, I can do that. That's just like special ops training. And everybody said, no, you can't do that. And I had a bunch of people dare me, like, you can't do that. That's stupid. Nobody does that. I said, I know. So went out and did it, year three. And I stumbled into, hey, that's sort of fun. I can swim, I can bike, and I can run if I have to. So you stumble into things, and then you begin to gain confidence. And as you gain confidence, your world expands. And so I just kept doing what I thought I could do, and another opportunity would show up. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Well, it's too big. It's hard. Well, why don't you try this? And as you put in the time of, I wonder if, or I can find a way, or it scares me enough that I think I should really think about this because it's probably something I ought to try to do. That's led me to, the World Marathon Challenge with the 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. It led me to rowing across the Atlantic Ocean because they told me I was too old. Oh, okay. Um, 20, 20 marathons plus, 12 Ironmans. Um, Over 40 years, just take 5 or 10 years off and come back. I wonder if I can still do that. And you find that you just gain momentum when you do hard things. May have hurt, may have got blisters, may have this, may have that. But you gain confidence like, oh, I should have, when I was doing Greece, I only took one pair of shoes, 238 miles across Greece for that Navy SEAL Foundation fundraiser. And I learned that's really stupid. Your feet swell. Why'd you only take one pair of shoes? So when I did the World Marathon Challenge, I took 4 pairs of shoes. I learned. And all the other guys were doing that for the first time, and their feet blew up. They had blisters and the dock in the back, puncturing and blood everywhere, and these raw feet. And I took a 10 and a half, 11, 11 and a half, and a 12. And I started at 10 and a half, and I ended up in a 12. And everybody else was just, their feet was raw because they didn't think. But I had already blown my feet up in Greece. So you just learn things. And that just opens your world to more stuff. And when you hang around people who do that, then they say, well, if you like this, try this. Never heard of that. We'll do it here. Go look it up. You might like it. So the deal is to get around the right people who encourage you to do the right things, but bigger things, challenging things, lest you fall into the place of living the expectation of your age group. So, I don't hang around 70-year-olds because I don't want to be treated like a 70-year-old. And if you want to be a 70-year-old hanging with 70-year-olds, go get a glass of wine and talk about your medications. It's just, don't do that. Hang around people that are still dreaming and are stretching and excited about life versus retiring. And so it's been fun for me then to just stumble my way through. Didn't plan on doing this, but I guess I'll do this, and didn't plan on this and do that. And so that's how I've got to be where I am as a side gig from normal life. How's that?
No, that's awesome. Well, so tell us a little bit about I want to dive into the SEAL Fit thing because I know Mark's made some changes to his program that you were sharing with me, and we've had a couple of our guys, JC Kaiser and Clint Murray, did
Yep.
the was it the is it a
6 hours.
6 hour? Yeah, 6 hour. Because that's a different kind of hard. Like being able to do Murph, which that requires a lot versus endurance kind of stuff. But talk a little bit about your SEAL Fit experience and what you learned from making other people do really hard stuff after you made yourself do really hard stuff in that Kokoro.
Again, that was, um, I knew I was a lazy Ironman. I never raced. I did what I had to do for one day. So my training was, you know, I can swim it, and I can bike it, and I can walk, run it or whatever. So somebody said, Robert, you're turning 65 or something. You probably ought to train. I mean, really train. And I went over to CrossFit, and there was a CrossFit, and it was hard for me to submit myself to this guy and say, I just want to be a better athlete. And in multifaceted, I want my body to be good in everything with a base so I can do anything. And then somebody said, you ought to do SEAL Fit. And I said, what's that? And they said, it's that Navy SEAL thing. It's a CrossFit on steroids. And I said, oh, I don't know about that. And they had a leadership academy. And back then, Mark had this thing, he'd go for 2 nights and 3 days. And he didn't tell you he was going to beat the crap out of you, but he did. Middle of the night, get up with hoses and put you in the mud and crawling through thistles. And, he wants all the skin off your elbows and your knees just to see how you like it, and blah, blah, blah. And at that point, he said, we have the thing called Kokoro, the 50-hour nonstop Navy SEAL Hell Week experience with Navy SEAL instructors. And that, he said, there's only one guy that's ever done it up around your age. And so that guy just happened to be at this place at SEAL Fit. And I went over to him and said, what was that like? And he said, oh, it'll wake you up. And so I talked to him. The more I talked to him, he was an attorney from Laguna Hills. And I said, I wonder if I should try that. He said, better get your game on. And so I made the adjustment again to stop going to my CrossFit, which was 15 minutes away from my house. And I made the commitment after asking my wife if it was okay, because you want to sign off when you go rogue, over the edge. And I started driving 5 mornings a week, an hour down to Encinitas above San Diego to be at the 6 a.m. workout and do a 6 a.m. and a 7 o'clock workout with the SEAL Fit instructors and with the people that had done Kokoro and those kind of minded people. There was no talking allowed, no cussing allowed, no sounds allowed. All you were taught to do is breathe, listen to the rock and roll, and the only thing you could say the whole hour was "good job" to somebody else, encourage somebody else. But you couldn't be a spectacle. You couldn't have anybody look at you because I'm dying or flowing on the ground. If you make noise, go outside. We don't want to see you. It was a Spartan environment, and I ended up doing that for about 3 years, driving down there because I knew it was going to be really hard. And I learned some things down there. This guy said to me, we did a Saturday morning workout at 7 a.m. It was like, you run a mile, then you had to do, 50 thrusters and 100 box jumps and, so many push-ups and pull-ups and then another mile run and then something else. And, you get done with that. And I'm sitting there just soaked, exhausted. And the guy says to me, you doing Kokoro? I said, I think so. He said, well, you need to do that workout again at 8 o'clock. And I'm cooked. I'm just done. And he says, if you can't do it twice in a row, don't show up. Kokoro. Really? He said, let's go. And so the gun goes off and you do the exact same workout again with 25 guys and gals. And the funny thing was that my time got better. I was completely exhausted. Thought I done for the day. And my time got better the second time. I did everything better the second time. And it blew my mind. Like, I didn't know that was in there. I didn't know you could do that. And he said, do that for 50 hours. And I went, oh. And so I got real sober on, I have way more potential still in my 60s than I think I do. But I baby myself with my brain that I don't want to do it. It's hard, hurts. But if I had to, I could. And so when I got into Kokoro, I knew that it was going to be a head game. They told me the culture is severe. And what we will do is we will try to get into your head to get you to quit. And the goal is that our negativity can crush your positive why dream of doing it. Our negativity can get you out of your game and you'll quit. So from the moment you walk in, you're a fucking loser. You're an embarrassment. Why are you here? And they get in your head. And they do that probably every 2 minutes for a long time. Quit. Get out of here. We don't want you here. Who do you think you are? You're old. Or they say that to everybody. And the game is to keep your head. It wasn't just physical. It was the mental game of, can I stay positive in a negative environment? Meaning in war, on combat, oftentimes nothing is going positive. And when everything's going wrong, can you keep your head? And we knew that from pararescue, but I hadn't formulated it like that. And so they'll make it as negative as possible to see if the bombs are going off and people are dying and stuff, can you keep your head? And I knew that I had to breathe my way through. Breathing meaning nasal breathing, slow down the heart rate, and don't ever get emotional. Don't go, don't freak out. Breathe. I remember Mark Devine came walking down the line at one point, and I closed my eyes and I just was breathing. And he just said to the whole group, you see Owens? He's breathing, which meant he's working on his emotional control. And when all these young guys are all this stuff, and I had to do that a lot in training for that. And it grew me up. It made me think about my emotional control, my mental state, how to think under pressure. I've been the first person at a car wreck before with guys hanging out bloody, laying in the street. But I got trained in pararescue to be the first guy in a lot of things that you don't want to be the first guy at. What are you going to do when something terrible happens? You're the first guy there and you have to make the call. And that's the best thing for men is to, and ladies, but for men is to say, what are you going to do when everybody's counting on you? Can you handle the moment or do you freak? And so I'll give you an example. Like my daughter broke her wrist. She was in gymnastics. She was doing backflips into pit with all the foam, and she missed the foam, hit the sidewall, and her wrist broke off. Just broke off. So she gets up. All the parents are sitting there on tables, and she gets up, and her wrist is broken and hanging down here. And she goes, and she lifts up. She must be 8 years old, and she got up and she just looked at me, and all the parents on the benches, freaked, like blood going boosh, 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 and her wrist is hanging off like that. And she looked at me to see how to respond. And I went, no problem, no problem. I'll be there in just a moment. Stand still. And all the parents are freaking out. And I get up and I run, I go around the thing, and get down by the pit, grab some. I said, somebody give me a toilet paper roll, or a paper towel roll thing. Anyway, get it, wrap her wrist up like that, blood everywhere, parents freaking out. And I yelled at the parents, relax. You're going to freak my daughter out. And they were out of control. And I said, look at me. Just look at me. Look, all's okay. We can do this. And she just stared at me. She never cried. She never screamed. Look at me. All good. We can do this. And took her to the hospital. And I think 4 hours later, we get out and, blah, blah. And the parents said to me later, what was that? I said, you guys freak out. Your kids don't need you to freak out. They need you to be in control. Be a leader. And they don't have a clue. Anyway, the point is that you've got to train your brain to be ready and handle stuff that comes with life. And all these things that I've done have taught me I can choose to be this way or I can choose to be this way. What comes out of my mouth, facial expressions, tone of voice, you can do this. When I think inside it, oh, I don't know if I can or not. But don't fake it till you make it. Just stay calm. When you do the SEAL Fit thing, 50 hours, it'll wake you up. You have to do a mile run for time. I think I had to do it, and they hose you down, and they make you roll around the dirt, so you're wet and sandy and dirty in your combat boots and your long fatigues. You have to run this thing, and we had to run on a sandy road, sandy dirt road, up and back. Go to the truck up there, run around the truck, and come back in the dark. Got it. And you don't know where the soft sand is. Hard. You run that thing, you come back, and then you got to do the Murph, and then you got to do another mile run for time, and that's after 8 hours of nonstop training. And so your push-ups, pull-ups, all that stuff, you've got to be in the game. And they have a chart there, and they mark it off. Red, you failed. Blue, you make it. And my goal was to make it through all of those. I didn't know when the test was going to be. I didn't know it was. We started at 6 in the morning, and we had the test at 5:30 at night before we went on an all-nighter. And the point was to get through all those so they can't check you off and kick you out. And I remember thinking, this is really hard. And breathe. Keep your head. Keep your emotions. You've trained for 3 years for this. You can do this. And so working yourself through the puzzle, because all it is a game, it's a puzzle. It's an event, but it's you against you. It's the challenge of you challenging you to do something that people say you can't do or shouldn't do. It's stupid to do. And I would become the oldest guy in the history of SEAL Fit to ever do this thing, much less show up. And so putting that puzzle together hour by hour, all the way through, was just one of those puzzles. Like, Owens, you want to quit? Why don't you quit? You're the slowest guy out here. Nobody wants you here. You shouldn't be here. Got it. Breathe. Don't listen to them. Just focus. And that kind of stuff grows you up. And I didn't know I needed to grow up in my 60s, but I grew up. I grew in my 20s a little bit, in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Wow, I can still grow. 70s, I can still grow. I can still learn. I want to enjoy life, and you can't fail. You only fail when you quit, when you don't show up, when you don't try. So if you fail, it's no big deal. You learn something, you try it again. And that's been a fun thing for me as a side gig to life, to have a life and then have the side thing. I just want to see if I want to know what that would be like or something like that. And I ask a lot of guys, do you want to keep growing or do you want to, stop growing, just exist? And they look at me like you're over the edge. And I go, I really don't think I'm over the edge. I just think it's fun to learn and fun to grow and fun to change. And it's so much fun to be in the middle of something that's impossible and you're doing it. I remember when I was in the boat, uh, the wave came, it broke, three-story wave came and broke on our boat crossing the Atlantic. I get washed out of the boat. I'm underwater and I'm being dragged by my ankle in the dark about 2,000 miles off in the middle of the Atlantic at 2 in the morning, in no moon, and I'm being dragged underwater, waiting for the next wave to come because I can't. I'm underwater. I know the next one's coming somewhere. Don't know what the boat's going to do. It's going to hit me or get on top of me or whatever. And I'm thinking, I paid for this adventure, and I'm getting it. This is the greatest thing in all the world. I paid for an adventure, and I got an adventure. And I'm not going to die. I'm a swimmer. I can figure this out. And I come up and they're all freaking out. Owens, Owens, like, it's all good. It's all good. Don't hit me with that oar. And they're thinking, what's he thinking? And I'm thinking, I just wanted to experience life and have that rush of I'm alive. Some people never get that rush of I'm alive. I mean, I'm not just existing. I'm alive. I remember I was on an Ironman and I had my borrowed bicycle and I had everything that was, old or whatever it was. And there's this guy that had a brand new bike, brand new everything. He'd spent thousands of dollars on his equipment. And I come motoring up to him on the Ironman Florida. I say, hey, how you doing? And he goes, good. I said, okay, see you, bye. And I passed this guy up who spent thousands of dollars on his equipment. And here I'm on a borrowed bicycle I'd never ridden before. I think I had toe clips. And I just went, it doesn't get any better than that. Just I'm in the game. I'm passing people that I should be passing. So for all of you guys listening, I don't know what your goal in life is, but it's fun to be alive and it's fun to be challenged. It's fun to break a nervous sweat. It's it's fun to think, I wonder if I can do this. And you know, that's why I'm doing the 100 miler. Like you can't do that. I know. Let's see if I can figure it out. So anyway, that's sort of rambling, but that's sort of my philosophy. Is my side thing, not my life. It's not who I am. I do other things, but this is fun when other people aren't having as much fun as I'm having. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, but well, I've got a couple questions before we go on though. I just want to see if anybody on the call has anything they want to run by Robert. Um, if not, I'm gonna call on a couple guys.
Come on, Jay,
Yeah,
say
we got
something.
we got two what I would call world-class ruckers, Brandon and Jay. And so it's funny, Jay, I don't think had rucked a month ago. Is that true, Jay? Yeah, okay. He's now we got this challenge going on in May, Robert. So it's a progressive overload challenge. So you got to ruck at least twice a week, but each one has to be it's a distance times weight, so pound miles. So if you walk 1 mile with 10 pounds, that's 10. Well, Jay goes, I think I'm going to try this rucking thing. Well, he's rucking 6 miles a day with 50 pounds, and
Oh
he
my,
and he's so far ahead of everybody. And then Brandon did the 18 point something mile Norwegian foot march with 25 or 28 pounds, and that was for time. And he won his age group. Anyway, so these are two guys who are really embodying doing hard things. So, um, Jay, I don't know if you can chat if your phone's working or not. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, is that coming through?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
there we go.
I'm curious about what I mean, I know you know Robert, and you've
Yeah.
just heard him talk about this stuff, and now you're doing, I think what a lot of us would say, like, are you serious? 6 miles at 50 pounds on consecutive days? Talk a little bit about how you're perceiving hard things. I'd love to hear what you're thinking and get Robert's reaction to it.
I'm stoked, Jay. That's fun. That's tremendous.
No, yeah, it's been fun. No, I just I wanted to test out what it felt like to have 50 pounds on my back, and then once I did that, I kind of felt like I had to do it again the next day, and that's I tell myself I can take tomorrow off, and then I get up and I'm like, I'll go ahead and do that. So that's what got me into it, and it's something new. It's something that I haven't done, so I think the novelty of it is making it fun for me.
Oh yeah, that's fun to go out there and experiment and do something you've never done before and get those
Yeah,
feelings and you get a win every day. Like I did this thing, I'm good.
yeah.
I'm holding my dog because my wife's leaving, and so the dog won't run towards the car. Go ahead. I think that's great, Jay.
Well, Brandon, I'm curious too. Like you did a couple of hard things in the last couple of years. You hiked the rim to rim, and then you did the Norwegian foot march. And again, I gotta play him up. He won his age group. I mean, it was awesome. Um, tell me how your thinking's changed, Brandon, on this stuff. What like the 40% Robert talked about this concept of like you're capable of so much more. Um, how'd you approach
Yeah,
that 18
the
miles?
date on the calendar is that's such a key thing that you're talking about, Robert. That having something out there to train for and to to push yourself. Um, Sean and I are in the process. Sean Dunn and I are in the process. We're going to sign up for the Elevation Everest,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
September 26th, and we're
Where are
gonna
you going
do
to do it?
that
Which
in
one?
Winter
Yeah,
Park,
yeah.
and it's a timed event where you have 17 hours to do it. Um, and so that's the one we're gonna throw out a challenge to on that. But just having that now, knowing that I'm doing that, I've just picked up my training here the last 3 days to start getting ready for that. And I'm trying to simulate. I have zero elevation gain in 3 miles. I think it varies 6 feet. So I've got to figure out how to simulate training at 9,100 feet going to 10,700 feet. You have 1,600 feet of elevation gain in 2.2 miles, and you got to do that 19 laps. And so I'm just trying to get educated on it, and I'm listening to uh, "Can't Hurt Can't Hurt Me," the David Goggins stuff, and what he's talking about there. Just uh, what you're talking about are so similar. It's crazy. Uh, I feel like I'm listening to the older version of David Goggins I'm listening to you on this. So it's very inspirational. And you planted a seed a few months ago about that Javelina 100, and it's like that's been rolling around in my head. And I've kind of found this Elevation Everest is
Yeah.
a stair step for it. And so, anyways, that's
You know
I
what
just appreciate that what you're
you could
pushing
do.
us.
What you could do in your training is to add a weight vest to your training all the time,
Mhm.
and therefore, when you get to the event, your lungs will not be at elevation, but your muscles will be stretched. So, making it one of the things that works for me is try to make the training harder than the day of the event and experience the pain, experience the fatigue, the mental fatigue, the emotional fatigue. Like when I did the 777, I put a 25-pound weight vest on because I had no idea what to do. I looked online, how do you train for that, and there was nothing. And so I put on a 25-pound weight vest and did five 22, 23-mile runs 5 days in a row with the weight vest on.
Wow.
And I did that because I wanted the pain. I wanted to feel the exhaustion so that when I got in there, I didn't know what I was going to feel. And so when I finally did the deal, it was so much easier than I thought because I wasn't carrying that stupid vest. And um, I went, oh, I know how to do this. You just stay upright. And when you get tired, you walk.
Mhm.
Blah, blah. But the point is that that 29 thing it's a tough deal on that getting altitude stuff. You can buy one of those little things you stick in your mouth and you adjust it, and it gives you a breathing tube that gives you a effective elevation.
Okay.
So you can do you can sleep at night in a tent, hyperbaric tent that's gauged to 12,000 feet to get ready for it, which is a sort of expensive way to do it. Or you could buy one of those mechanical things you put in your mouth to breathe through it, and it makes it hard to breathe, like elevation. But there's ways to get your brain saying, I can do this. But I have a lot of friends that have done it, and you just gotta just one foot after another, and get that rhythm going, and you'll have a great time training for it.
Hey, Brandon, is that the Jesse Itzler event, or is this something different?
No, this is different. It's a less expensive version of the Jesse Itzler one. It's just in Winter Park, and it's works out to be about $700 to $800 a person to do it, and it's just a 17-hour event. It's not. I think Jesse Itzler's you can do over like 36 hours, and it's much more expensive. And we happened to get engaged in Winter Park 30 years ago, so it's like right on that anniversary. That's why we chose this one, for cost and easier to get into. Also, that one it's very limited, and like you sign up now for a year from this fall is how that one goes.
Well, you'll have a 1 week to recover before we go live in your backyard at Camp Foley.
Just like Norwegian Foot March one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, yeah, the date on the calendar. So I was drawing this, listening to Robert talk. It's like picture a triangle, a date, an event at the top, a plan in the lower left, and then on the lower right, a tribe. Somebody to do this stuff with. I mean, Robert was driving down to Encinitas. Brandon, you're doing this with Sean, but this whole idea of like doing hard things becomes a lot more attainable, and I don't want to use the word easier, just attainable when you're surrounded by people doing similar things. Robert, have you found that? I mean, a marathon is a solo effort, but did you train for those 777s in any sort of like tribal type environment? Did you have other people around you, or were you just like solo?
No,
that
was just me. I just take off from my house on PCH, and I would go down to San Clemente and come back every day. I'd get up, I start running at 7:30 and get done around 10:30 and call it a day, have a Coke and lift my feet up. Say that was a lot of work. Anyway, let me mention, because you mentioned the thing about the date. I don't talk an awful lot about what I'm going to do. But for last year, you're saying, Robert, what's your next adventure? What are you going to do? And I say, nothing. I don't know. Why? Because if it comes out of my mouth, I'm going to be committed to it. And so if I have a date that I have to do something, I don't speak about anything until I've made up my mind, because then I'm going to be held accountable to what comes out of my mouth. Talk's cheap. And so don't talk about it unless you're going to do it. Let your word be good, And so you asked me a lot, what am I going to do? And I was thinking about stuff to do, but I didn't tell you. Why? Because I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to put on the date. I didn't want to, that's what I'm going to do. Because once I put that out there, which guys need to do, once you say I'm doing that, then you say, okay, then I'm stuck. Unless, why aren't you doing it, dude? You talked a good line, you didn't show up, what's wrong with you? So don't say it unless you're going to do it. And if you say it, then you're committed to it. And once I said it one time, I'm going to do the 100-miler, I said, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. And then somebody else said something, I said, say it. I'm doing 100-miler. What? Say it again. And pretty soon it got easier to come out of my mouth. Like, yeah, I'm doing 100-miler, no problem. But that first time to get it out of my mouth was really hard, because I knew that I was going to be committed if I did. That's why you need to have a date to commit to. Because for me, I pick events that are at least a year away. Why? Because that then puts me into a whole new life of eating, sleeping, preparing. It gives me a goal. It gives me structure. It talks to me in the morning. It talks to me at night. And I need those. I need to leapfrog from this one, do it, and then find another one and do it. and it just sort of keeps me in the game. And then I watch a lot of those senior Olympics or senior guys, you know, in their 80s and 90s. I sent you something yesterday, Scott, you know, about that 80-year-old doing the bad water. And I thought, I don't want to say that one, you know, you know, like this, because once you say it, it's good. It locks you in for the next period of time, which gives you purpose besides kids, grandkids stuff. It gives you something to shoot for that takes up a full year. My wife says, why do you have to do something a year away? Because it gives me a year to do something. You know, it locks me in. I need something to work for, to enjoy. Otherwise, I just go in circles and spin and read the news too much or watch TV too much or something like that. So all the way, you know, a year to a year to a year, if I can, to a year, my life then has purpose and fun and struggle. Um, when most guys are just going around in circles, you know, what new car are you going to buy, you know, or whatever it's going to be like that. So that's why I need a date, and that's why I need to confess it. You know, many of you know I was a senior pastor for a long time. There's a lot of biblical law, knowledge and truth to your confession. You're committed to what you confess. And be careful about what comes out of your mouth. Life and death is in the power of the tongue, the scripture says. So I got to make sure that my mouth is right because there's a lot of things that kick in gear once it comes out of my mouth. And that's step number two. First is setting that date and then going, okay, I'm going to confess it.
So you answered a question I was going to ask is, so keep your mouth shut, but there must be some sort of, but you have to open it by a certain time, otherwise you'll never do anything. So for you, it's a year, like which ties into Itzler's Masogi. You have a year defining thing on your calendar every year that has a high chance of 50-50 chance of success. And I think what's the other rule of Masogi according to Michael Easter? Don't die. That's rule number two.
Well, my wife reminds me about that all the time. She says I'm a narcissist that is very selfish, and all I think about is me. And why don't you think about dying? And I don't want to be here with you dead. So don't do that because you're going to die. I go, no, I'm not going to die. She goes, you're going to die one of these days. I go, no, I'm not going to die. I mean, I can always walk, you know. So I have to go through this whole thing. But that year thing, well, for me, then I add the spin. I got a new knee. I got a knee replacement. And I went and saw my knee guy last week, and he goes, "You're not running, are you?" Nah. He goes, "Good. You know that knee was not built for your running. I told you when I gave you the new knee, you're done. You can't run it. Got it." And so it's just the game of, you know, a year. Injuries happen and stuff. We'll take that year off for a minute, then replan, reboot, and it gives you something to do that's fun, and it keeps you healthy, keeps you mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. For me, spiritually healthy, and most guys over 65, 70 aren't healthy. They're just sort of existing and going through. And I got a guy down the street here. I saw him washing his car in the alley, and I said, "Hey, what's up?" You know, he was driving a Volkswagen Thing. Remember that?
Mhm.
He's got a couple old cars in his big garage. And so he's watching it. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What kind of work?" He goes, "I just went back to work." I said, "You did?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Well, how old are you?" He said, "I'm 82." I said, "Oh, good. How's work?" He goes, "I love it. I just sick and tired of golf and guys. I had to go back to work, do something." He was a CEO of a company, sold it, and now he's doing something else, you know. But I just thought, yeah, you just can't exist. You got to have something that gets you out of bed in the morning and gives you life. And a lot of guys don't have it. And that's what Argent Alpha is really good at: getting guys together, stimulate each other, encourage, challenge each other. And you find yourself doing stuff you never thought you'd do. But then you go, bada bing, guess what? That was sort of fun. And you get out of that cycle of yourself and you expand. And it's great what you guys do.
Well, I remember when one of the first times you spoke to our group, you talked about, I think somebody asked you, like, why do you do these crazy hard things? And you said a big part of it was maintaining relevance or increasing relevance. And I think that happens to a lot of guys, especially if they decide to leave the workforce. All of a sudden, the phone calls don't get returned. When people ask, what do? You don't have a present tense answer, you have a past tense answer. Well, I used to be the talk a little bit about relevance, I think, because I think and why that's important to men, especially over 50, over 60, over 70.
My dad said to me at 92, 3, something like that, I said, um, you know, they're going to put you on the shelf pretty soon. And I said, who? He said, everybody. They're going to say you're old and you're irrelevant. And he was a judge, and the state mandated that he retire at 60. He said, 60? I'm just getting going. And then they'd hire him on the next Monday as a part-time guy, but they wanted to change his salary package and blah, blah, blah. And he said, once I got into that semi-retirement thing, I would go to Rotary or Chamber of Commerce or something, and all the young guys would sit over on one side, and all the old guys would sit at a table over here. And the young guys never came by to say hi, hardly at all. Just, oh, hey, how you doing? And they go do their thing. And all the old guys would sit in the corner and do their thing. And what he said is that the young guys don't think you're relevant anymore. You're old. And he said, there's a time coming when people are going to say, he's old. And I thought, wow. He said, you need to have a business plan from 60 to 90. You need to put together a plan. Those are your best years because you've made your mistakes. You know who you are. You know what you can do. You're there. You're seasoned. The gray hair is supposed to be worth something. And so I said, oh. He said, so what are you going to do when you grow up? I'm going to die because I moved home to take care of my dad. I lived with my dad from 92 to 101 and watched the aging thing. And he would talk to me, what are you going to do after I'm dead? I said, I don't know, Dad. You're going to go back in the ministry? You're going to go back into business? What are you going to do? I don't know. He said, we need to figure it out. You need to have a plan because you just can't go around in circles. You know, you got to do something. And people will stop talking to you if you're not relevant. What are you relevant in? I said, I don't know. So I had that in the back of my brain. And sure enough, it began to slowly happen. Phone calls stopped coming in. Things just, I'd end up being invited to old people things, but not the young people things. I put myself back in that gym with young people, specifically to be around young people. At least an hour a day, I'm around life and growth and excitement and this and that versus old guys. And then I was a speaker. I did a lot of public speaking, and the phone started not ringing. And today, I have to work really hard to have anybody want me to speak. How many people fly in a 75-year-old to speak? Not too many people want to hear a 75-year-old. I'll be 75 this year. And I said, I'm on the shelf. They don't want to hear from a 75-year-old, 74-year-old. They think you're old. And for me to try to convince them that I'm not old, it's a really climbing that 29,000 feet over and over again. No, you're old. And so how do I stay relevant? Well, if I do these activities, then people will come up and say, hey, Mr. Owens, is it Mr. Owens or is it Robert? You know, who are you? And yeah, what? And they talk to me because I've earned it. And they call me and I coach guys online because I got my 10,000 hours in and people want that. But if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, like when I confessed that I'm going to do this 100-miler, all of a sudden people started talking to me again online, different kind of thing. Are you doing that? Why? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm in a group of fitness over 70. And I look at weightlifters and swimmers and all kinds of stuff, guys that are doing stuff, freak people out like, you doing that? Yeah. And they have one of fitness over 80 and fitness over 90. And they're in the game and they're still relevant in a smaller bracket. So you guys be careful. You need to have that plan from 60 to 90 of how to stay relevant in the game, lest people just write you off and say, hi, he's old. And they don't treat you the same. And it's maddening. And my father said to me, when I had the most to give, I mean, 70, 80, 90, when I had all this stuff, he was FBI and prosecuting attorney in the war crimes trials in Manila, like Nuremberg. And he had this storied background. And when people stopped talking to him, he said, when I have the most time to give away what I've learned in life, no one wants to talk to me. He said, he'd say that to me. I'd take him to church and he'd say, see how they don't want to come up and talk to us? I said, yeah, Dad. He said, take me to the Sunday school class with all the 70 plus people. They'll talk to me. And it's just sad because he wanted to mentor. He wanted to encourage. He wanted to give away all he had. And the young people didn't want to talk to him. Stay relevant, son. Stay relevant as long as you can. So I hope that's a word to the wise to all of you guys. Don't let the world write you off. You have a lot to give and a lot to share, but they're going to put you in a category. Everything really, 60s is one thing. 70s, it's like there's a switch turned and all of a sudden he's old. No, I'm not. You're old. And it's really hard to fight that thing.
Well, I'll keep on rejecting it because you're doing a good job of it. Hey, before we wrap up, we got a few guys on the Zoom.
Have some more questions.
Yeah, throw something out, guys. Robert's favorite wine or that he drinks after a 25 miler. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple questions. One, and this one's personal, so don't feel like you have to answer it. But are you taking any kind of hormone replacement, testosterone or anything like that? And have you found the success of it? And two, I love what you're saying about putting a date on or number on the calendar. I've done Ironmans and 16 marathons, so I completely align with that. But one thing I struggle with is finding an event that inspires me. Because I can't just put something on a calendar to put it on a calendar. So I would love to hear, your thoughts on both of those. What inspires you and what are you looking for? And then just the other one, if you had any thoughts on that, that'd be great.
On the first one, let me see. I had an injury. I had surgery on this shoulder. People say, you're injured a lot. I said, well, athletes get hurt. Are you an athlete? Trying to be. A friend of mine said, hey, Robert, you need to go do some stems and go to Mexico. I go to Mexico and I know a guy. My cousin is a doc in Mexico. And so I said, really? And so I started driving to Ensenada. I got all my testing done. Your insurance will only test like 60 things. This guy tested 300 things for like $200. He read my panel and told me where I was with all my chemicals for what age I am. And so I started taking stems. And he would, every time I'd go down, do you feel better? Feel bigger, better, everything good? Don't feel a thing. I did it for a year. Drove to Ensenada, spent 3 nights, went to his clinic and flushed my system and took some stuff. And I said, no, this doesn't make me illegal, does it, if they ever blood test me? And he said, no, this is your good stuff. Anyway, over the year, nothing happened. I didn't notice any increase, any help. I wish I could. I paid the money. And I just said to him, sorry, I don't see any difference. I'd like to find something that would really, help me, because I know I'm not producing a whole lot of things like I used to produce. But I just haven't found that. I found I just keep motoring without it. Second of all, I need to find something that makes me nervous. I've done 12 Ironmans in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Okay, I know how to do them. I know how to train for them. I know how to survive them. Halves are almost like, why do them if you do a 70.3? But it's a nice warm up or something like that. I need something like 100 miler that goes, And so I said, for that one, well, if I mean, a really slow marathon is a 6-hour marathon. And if I ran 4 6-hour marathons, 24 hours, I'd be in the game. So I said, well, I could figure that out, but it had to make me sweat, 24 hours straight running, or run walking. And, makes me nervous. The Atlantic made me nervous. The 777, I'm not a runner, but I can run if I have to. So that made me nervous. Otherwise, things are just boring. And so I need those kind of things that challenge me because I need the mental game. I need the stimulation. I need the bad days of training and the good days of training and coming back and wow, it's so much better. I thought yesterday was so bad. I didn't know I could do so well today. It's the journey, not the end point. So for you, yeah, you got to find something that's going to get you to sweat and go, that'd be really a challenge. And I know there's a bunch of us out there that we live like that. I'm online with another guy he manages the Texas football team, and he did the 777. And sometimes he'll contact me and say, found anything that makes you nervous yet? I said, what are you doing? He'll tell me what he's doing. I don't want to do that one. But anyway, yeah, that's all. Just fine. It has to unnerve me and challenge me and wake me up in the middle of the night thinking about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Tom, that's interesting. And I don't know if it's semantics, but you said inspired. Robert said nervous. Those
Yeah.
are really different filters.
They are.
Inspired to be real easy to go, nah, I'm not inspired. But nervous is like, there's a lot of things that make me nervous. You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that change your thinking on it a little bit?
A little bit, but like with me doing an Ironman, it's like, what kind of inspired me is like there is nothing like crossing, for me anyway, crossing the finish line of an Ironman. It's like
Yeah.
you can't smoke it, you can't drink it. There's nothing like it in the world to me. And
Yeah.
that's what inspires me through the challenge, through the training. Just like completing that, the feeling of success and accomplishment, and not like beating anybody. It's just my own, my own barrier in front of me. I never really thought about it as nervous because, yeah, like training for it, especially the first one, I was scared as hell, so that was a great motivator to get up every morning. But the inspiration to, as you say, Robert, make the confession to this is what I'm going to do. For me, I kind of looked at it as inspiring, but it's something I need to think about because I like it. It's a great different way to look at it.
Yeah. I haven't been inspired in a long time. I mean, but I am nervous.
Yeah.
Rowing across the Atlantic
Yeah. Especially for those events, right?
with no support boat, and a bunch of weird Europeans. I went over there and rowed for 2 weeks in the North Sea to get to know this crew I was going to be with and see if I liked them and could I fit with them. And they said, you're the oldest guy. You're the oldest American who will have ever done this. If you do it, I went, okay, let me see how I like these guys, what this group's like, and how do you take a crap in a bucket in front of everybody, and just all that stuff. And it made me nervous. And then half the team didn't show up, and they had to go find replacements, and I didn't know any of them. And then I was really nervous. Like, what are these people like under pressure, sleep deprived, and all that stuff. So, the nervous rattles me. I need that. Inspire is sort of like fun, and I want something more than fun. I want it to be like, oh my God. And I don't know where that happened, but there was an oh my God for the first Ironman, and there was an oh my God for my comeback at 50. That was an oh my God. And then I needed something other because I figured it out.
Yeah.
Yep. Brian Gobar had to leave, but he said, Robert, good to see you. Thanks. What makes me nervous? You do. Have a great week, man.
I talked to Brian last week. He's got a guy in his church running for office against a Somalian up in Minnesota. So I met the guy, and yeah, it's fun to hear him take on the Somali community in St. Cloud.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was fun to talk to Brian.
That's awesome.
So, Robert, do we have time for another question?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I'm curious, you talk about some of these specific challenges and as being a side gig to life. And how do you see the difference between hard things on specific challenges that are challenging you in every way and hard things in life, in just regular life, that people do that are maybe remarkable, but they're not specific events? Do you draw any kind of distinction, or do you see those things as similar?
Gosh, Jay, I think life can be hard. There's times when it's not hard, and there's times when it's really hard. And those I haven't necessarily chosen. The ones that I'm choosing have a different mind frame than the ones that just happen to me. Um, Losing my house in the recession, um, um, watching a son go to jail. There are hard things in life, but when I select the ones that I want to do, it's a different mind frame for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, like you chose to take care of your dad.
Yeah.
That had to be, as I would imagine, as challenging as anything else you did.
He caught me in a season of brokenness. I was broken. I went through a divorce that was just miserable. And I was a pastor. So, that's like turning in your Letterman's jacket, like you've broken the code, you're a failure. And go hide in a cave somewhere because you've disappointed everybody in the world. And my dad just happened, my mom died at 91, he was 92. And as I was working through losing my house, losing my marriage, my church shrank. Uh, I had a 3,000 member church that got down to about 500 because everybody in town lost their job. All the people left Reno. Nevada was the hardest hit of all the states because it's based on sales tax. And if no one's traveling, coming to Vegas or Reno to spend money, the state budget goes out. So there's no money. So the casinos closed, the McDonald's closed, the car washes closed, the AM/PM closed. Everybody just moves out of town because there's no work in the state. $1 million properties were going for 100,000. Remember those days? So he hit me at a time when I was broke, and he said, "Why don't you just come home? I'd love for you to come home and be with me." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, come on." And so I went home, and it was healing for me. I had a place, I had a base camp. I'd go home to my family home, and it was a time to recover. And it took me about 5 years, 6 years to get my act together. And what I did during that time was I continued to do marathons and do Ironmans just for mental health, to just spin my stuff and think. And I'd go surfing and never catch a wave, just sit, look at the sunset or sunrise, just sit on my board, space out like, how did this all happen to me? And so that it was hard for me to learn elder care, but it was also a blessing for me to be able to go heal and to reboot and get ready for the next season of life. And he thanked me. I thanked him. Um, and I held his hand when he died. He said, "You did it, son. You did good." I said, "Dad, go see mom. And I love you." I kissed him. He took a breath. He was gone. And that's a whole weird season. Things come together. And anyway, it was a blessing, and it was hard, but it was a good hard.
Oh, great story. All right. Well, hey, another good one, Robert. Well, keep us posted on it's the Javelina 100. That's what it's called. It's
Yeah,
what part of Phoenix is it in October?
it's
Or
actually
Arizona rather.
Arizona. It's northeast. It's in some state park, McKinley's Park or
Okay.
MacArthur. And it's an easy one because it's 5 20-mile loops. So you just go around, and it's flat. And I thought I'd try to find an easy one to break in, see how I like the stupid thing.
I love how
Uh,
you frame it. It's an easy one. It's 5 20-mile laps. That's all.
you
Easy.
guys, listen. This is the mindset. Here you go. If someone said, "I'll give you $5 million if you could run or walk 100 miles," do you think you could find a way to win? Do you think you'd find a way to do that? The answer is hell yes. Um, if somebody, and if I know that if I could do it for a million, if somebody offered me $1 million, yeah, I'll find a way to do it. Well, then why don't I find a way to do it without the $1 million? And I say that to the kids when I coach Navy SEAL kids or Army Ranger kids, pararescue kids. I say, after they quit, their brain gets crushed And I say to him, if I gave you $1,000,000, could you go out there right now and go back and do it? Yeah, you bet. If I paid you $500,000, would you go right back out and wish you hadn't quit? Yeah. If I give you $20, would you go back out there? They look at me and go, no. And I say, so what was it that would get you to quit when you knew if there was $1,000,000, you wouldn't quit? We got your why. We took your why away from you. Your why of wanting to do this, we crushed. And you lost it because if I had $1,000,000, you'd still be out there. And they go, that's right. And they go, oh my God, I broke mentally, didn't I? I said, yeah, you did. But you can come back and try it again. But you have more in you than you know. You just got emotionally overwhelmed and had a weak moment and quit. If I let you right now go back, would you go back? Yeah, can't. Once you quit, you're out. But you learned that you lost your reason for being here. We took it away from you and you caved into your emotions. And they just stare at you. I said, that's life. Life will come up and hit you in the head. And you got to be careful what you do when that time comes, because you can do a real bad decision and then kick yourself the rest of your life. And they just look at you. We say, come back in 2 years. We'd love to try again. And they never come back.
Wow.
It's a tough experience.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, hey, Robert, thank you very much. We'll see you. We'll see you soon in LinkedIn
If you guys
land.
want to, if you guys want to do that last 20 miles with me, I'd love to have somebody to talk to me. I think it'll probably be, it starts at 6 in the morning. So that should be like the midnight to 6 a.m. kind of walk. I won't be running much. I'll be maybe speed walking, maybe not. But if anybody wants to talk to me out there, I'd love to have some company.
Well, hey, Rob, if for anybody to listen to this when I put it online, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
My phone number is 949-542-9600. 949-542-9600. My email is my name, Robert Owens, but the Owens has 2 S's for the email. That was for my kids. I had one with 2 S's. I had one with 3 S's. These different emails for different kids. I had 5 kids, you got to separate some of this stuff. So anyway, Robert Owens with a double S at Yahoo.
Yahoo.com. Got it. Awesome. And Robert, you're pretty active on LinkedIn. People can track you down there as
Yeah.
well. And then I think your website is at roberthamiltonowens.com.
Yeah. My middle name's Robert Hamilton. How do you like that?
Yeah.
RobertHamilton.com.
Yeah, and check it out because Robert put out a book. I think a lot. I know a lot of guys in Argent Alpha have read your book. I've got it here. It's a good read. It goes deep into a lot of your experiences.
The audiobook is on the website if you want to listen to the audiobook. It was more fun doing the audiobook than the book. I got the laugh while doing the narration. It was so it's more fun.
Another endurance event, reading your own book.
I go into a little cubicle, and I start reading my book, and the guy's sitting outside with the headphones on, and like Brandon's looking at me, and I would say something, and he would swivel in his chair, and he'd go, "Really?" Through the glass. "Is that true?" And I go, "Yeah, that's really true." And I could talk to the guy doing the thing, and it's in the book. And I said, "I'm going to tell you all the stuff that my editor wouldn't let me put in the book." So I'd get to a certain place, and I'd say, "This is what the editor didn't want me to tell you," and I'd tell him in the book. And Audible would not let me be on Audible because you have to read the book perfectly, like just as it is. You can't ad lib any. I said, "That's no fun. I don't care about Audible. I'm going to ad lib my book and giggle and laugh and tell the story of throwing up or peeing on somebody or whatever it was, and just, all the things you shouldn't say."
Yeah, that's awesome. Unfiltered. All
Hey,
right.
you guys can be thinking of me. I'm probably going to redo my website to rebrand myself as an old guy. And so what does an old guy do for brand? Well, I think I'm going to go into more mentoring. And I think there's some guys probably that want to talk to an old guy for some sort of wisdom. And so I may have a new mentoring website instead of a I'm in the game website. They go, "No, he's old. That website, he was younger." So anyway, you could pray for me. I figure out who I am now.
Yeah, well, Robert, I view you, if you think of the hero's journey, you're the guide. and the men who come to you are the heroes, but they don't get called to action unless they have a guide who then hands them a plan and then helps them navigate the obstacles to achieve success. I mean, that's your classic guide role. So think about that.
Okay, Robert Owens guide. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
I don't know, man. I like the word guide more than mentor. Mentor, I think has not bad connotations, just different ones for a lot of
Yeah,
people. People tend to think younger, which isn't bad, but I think I know guys on this call are all familiar with the hero's journey and the
yeah.
guide. It's like we all need a guide. Um,
Do you
you
think
know,
anybody online would look up a guide?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody with SEO experience who could help figure out how to use words like mentor. But I mean, are men over 50, if that's one of the markets you're going after, are they typing in mentor they're probably typing in a bunch of things you'd have to figure out from an SEO perspective. But
If I'm talking to real spiritual guys, they always say, "You're not a mentor, you're a father."
mm,
And I said, "Well, how many people are going online to find a father?" And so, um, but that's yeah, it's all those guide, mentor, fathering, helping guys work through stuff. Blah blah. You guys
well,
have any ideas? Let me know.
yeah, and I think a lot of times what guys are looking for, they don't know what they're looking for. So whatever they type in isn't necessarily what they need. So it's like figuring out those words that are what they say, but aren't really what they need. I don't know. I see a couple heads nod on that, but um, that's what I found is like a lot of guys come into Argent Alpha because they're drawn by the physical stuff, but they stick around for beyond the physical stuff. So, but nobody would respond to, hey, we have a identity shift program that's going to change how you. I mean, nobody would respond to that. Hook them with the pull-ups, hook them with something hard, and then So I think there's a indirect way to get after what you're trying to do.
Let me just share an insight for you guys. I started. I planted this church at the University of Nevada at 29, and by 35, we were running 500, 700 folks. And I had these 60-year-olds coming to my church, and it was a non-denominational church. We had all kinds of dope smokers and Catholics and Protestants, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I would say, "What are you doing here?" And they'd say, "You're my father." And I said, "No, I'm not. Don't do that to me. You're 60 years old." And they say, "No, you're fathering me." I said, "What do you mean?" So I called a guy up, a spiritual mentor. I said, "This wigs me out. These guys are calling me father figure." He says, "Because you are." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because you're teaching truth that their fathers never taught them. And they're hearing it for the first time. How to have success, how to grow, how to do this, how to do that. And they're coming because they never had the input that you're giving. So if they think that they're being fathered, let them think they're being fathered because you're filling a void that they never had filled, which in the military, we know that over 50% of the young kids coming to the military never had a father figure
Hmm.
raised by their moms. And then they get in a male environment and it's really challenging unless they had a football coach or a wrestling coach or something. And so it's really something about guide, mentor, father. There are people that are really looking for answers. They just don't know where to find them. And you have a tough, you either stumble into them or they just, I know men that are still wandering around all this time with kids acting like they're 17 or something that they never grew up. They've never done the things that they need to do. And they're still looking for guidance. And you go, that's sad. So anyway, that's the thought, the guide thing, the father thing, the mentor thing. There's lots of people out there looking for that kind of input. And they don't know where to find it. Argent Alpha provides a part of that.
Yeah, good point. Reminds me of what John Eldridge talks about in Wild at Heart. Some of
Right.
the similar things. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Robert. Good luck with everything. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Robert.
Take
Good
care.
to see you guys.
See you guys. Take care.
Thank you.